So today what we're going to be doing is talking about some lead information and also ways through LeadStreet that you're able to hopefully convert your leads or make your lead conversion a little bit easier using the tools inside LeadStreet. Now, the reason I say tool is because I want everybody to understand that's exactly what LeadStreet is. I know when I first came to this region, a lot of people complained. They said the leads were no good and LeadStreet wasn't good because it didn't do anything in terms of conversion. LeadStreet is just a tool. Okay, leads are nothing more than opportunities. Some of those opportunities might, create a closing, and some of them might not do anything. But what's important is how often we're contacting them and how. Okay, so when I say LeadStreet is a tool, it's just like this remote in my hand. It's in my hand. I'm pointing it. Why isn't it doing anything? I don't understand. It's supposed to be changing stuff, but it's not. Why is that? Because I'm not using it right. I have to hit these buttons if I wanted to do that. LeadStreet is no different. If LeadStreet actually received, converted, and closed leads, we wouldn't need any of you. We would just have LeadStreet. It would be that amazing. But that's not how it works. It's like a hammer. A hammer can only drive a nail if you swing it. A remote can only work if you push a button. LeadStreet only works if you use it to convert your leads. Okay, so I just want everybody to understand that it is a lead conversion tool. It won't do all the work for you. Okay, so most importantly, when we're thinking about our leads, especially leads that are coming in, typically who is our target audience? Okay, we're talking about baby boomers, people that are probably, have children that are going off to college, thinking about retirement, empty nest, probably thinking about downsizing. Okay, they don't need all that space. They don't need a 4,000 square foot home if it's just the two of them. Okay, so 83% of baby boomers prefer an internet search rather than going through a newspaper. Or walking into an office. Okay, this is primarily done online. Now millennials or Gen Y, whatever you want to call them, most of those kids are 33 and under. Okay, 90%, and I think that might be on the low end, but there's still a lot of holdouts out there, believe it or not. 90% of your millennials are on social media. So where should you be? On social media. Okay, now it says here 52% look online for home buying. Now, where are they getting a lot of those domains and a lot of those URLs? Probably from social media advertising from agents. Okay, every time you post a listing, every time you post an open house, you should be following that up with your domain name so you can send individuals to that website to where they can continue to search for property and hopefully to register and become a lead. Ultimately, that's the goal. Okay, and another good thing about millennials, people in this age group, typically are going to buy more than one home. So if you sell a millennial their first home, what do you think you're going to get? Referral. Another R. Repeat business. Okay, so that's why those are the two main age groups. Okay, a lot of baby boomers might be downgrading or downsizing, I should rather say, and a lot of millennials are starting to find that first home. Okay, so those are your target audience. And those are the people that you want to get on your website as much as possible. Now this age group is a great age group, because a lot of these people are on Facebook. Now this age group, they're starting to dwindle away from Facebook. They're starting to do things like Instagram, Pinterest, things of that nature. You should be there as well, because they cost the same as Facebook, which is nothing. Okay, always remember that your social media should be your number one premier marketing tool. And everybody's like, well, Jay, I send out 1,000 mailers and I'll close like 2 deals from that. I'm like, that's awesome. But is that the most effective way to market yourself? Not necessarily. Okay, it probably does work and good. But if there's a better way to market yourself, that's probably the avenue that you should be pursuing. The 79% of online leads never turn into sales. Why do you think that is? Because people probably just aren't working them well. Why? Because they're not working. What's missing? Enough contact. We were just talking about a reoffer. Okay, think about it. That lead was already 2 hours old before it was kicked out to 4 other people. 2 hours. As we're going to learn, most people expect contact within 5 minutes or within 15 minutes. So if a lead is 2 hours old, by the time it gets around to you in the form of a reoffer, you got to do your best of what you can do. But if you get an original lead and you can respond to that lead as quickly as possible, that can be beneficial in helping to convert that lead. 45% of consumers expect a response within 15 minutes. Out of 100 web visits, 13 to 15 will convert to leads. That sounds like a low amount, but it's really not. If you think in your mind, let's say for example that you happen to receive 100 leads last year. which I know sounds excessive, and it kind of is. But if you think about it, if you converted 15 of those 100 leads just from LeadStreet, not including your other referrals and things of that nature, that would be a healthy number of closes that you performed. Okay, so that's what they're trying to get you to think about, is all these opportunities. That's all a lead is. It's just an opportunity. Just because you get a lead doesn't mean it's guaranteed to create a sale, but it is a guaranteed opportunity. Okay, number of attempts. 40% of online leads are contacted only once. And one of the first things I learned is people told me out here that the leads are just no good. I'm like, okay, well, how often did you contact them? They're like, once. I'm like, one time? One whole time? Where did you find the time, you know? I mean, come on. One time? If somebody just tried to call me one time, I would think that they were not serious at all about working with me. 6 attempts over 48 hours, okay? And it doesn't all have to be call. It doesn't all have to be email. What do a lot of people like to do these days, especially millennials? Text. Okay? Text. I have a ad on Craigslist right now for a car. I'm selling my wife's car, one of her older vehicles. And I put on there, okay to text. Every person who's reached out to me has texted me, not called me. People don't really like to talk to strangers all that much. It makes them feel a little weird, a little awkward. Okay, if they know that there's a better way than just picking up the phone and talking, especially if somebody's at work and they just have 15 minutes and they're just looking at something online and you call them and they're like, dude, I'm at work. What are you doing calling me? You know, text me or something. You know, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sitting at my desk. So calling is not always the best thing to do. But if you do get a phone number, which not a whole lot of LeadStreet leads have a phone number, they all have an email address, but if you have a phone number, try texting first and saying, hey, I saw that you looked at MLS number, whatever. I would love to talk to you about this. When is a good time? Okay, because not everybody's always ready to talk. Okay, 93% chance of being successful if you're contacting them in that bulk amount within 48 hours. Your first attempt, and again, this doesn't have to be, I didn't elaborate and I'm saving it for the class. These do not all have to be calls or text or emails. Again, you can spread it out, especially if it doesn't even come with a phone number. How are you going to call? Okay, so get a little creative. Your initial attempt should just be a knee-jerk reaction. Are you a first-time home buyer? Okay, what is your time frame? Are you selling a property? Are you currently renting? Okay, just trying to find out how serious this person is before you truly get too in-depth with them. Because if they're just a looky-loo, then yeah, absolutely, don't waste your time. But if this is somebody saying, I'm looking to buy in the next 90 days, okay, awesome. Now that you've established that, what else do you want to establish? Okay, what are you looking for, a single family or a condo? What area are you looking? What's your budget? Are you pre-approved? Okay, these are all great questions, and a lot of times they're knee-jerk questions just to find out how serious they really are. Okay, second attempt, more in-depth, persuasive syntax. Hey, I believe this property that you looked at probably won't sit on the market too long. It's a little underpriced and it's in a great area. Please give me a call back as soon as possible. Okay, I don't think it's going to hang around that long. Okay, bait them with important information. Other comps in the area are starting to increase in the value and this seller might do the same thing, so we might want to jump on it. What do you say? Fourth attempt, tell them you're there. Hey, I reached out a couple times. I just want you to know I'm here to help you. Any questions you might have, anything that you need to know about the real estate industry, about this market, the market area, this home specifically, or any other homes like it, please let me know. Okay, fifth attempt, you kind of jump into that customer service mode. Hey, just want to let you know, sorry, I didn't mean to bombard you with so much communication, but I really want to make sure that I'm serving you as much as possible, and that's why I've been contacting you so much recently. Sixth attempt, okay, if you haven't heard from them, just let them know, hey, just want to let you know, I'm here to help you with the money. Whenever you're ready to move forward, you have my information. Please give me a call. Now, again, this isn't 6 times in 6 hours. That's a good way to get blocked. Give them time to respond. We don't want to put the chokehold on these poor people, because we need to understand their situation first. So if we call somebody 3 times in an hour before we even talk to them, they're going to think we're a stalker. Okay, we're just trying to find some basic information. And until we can get that initial information about what they're trying to do, we want to spread this out a little bit. If we get them on the first call, obviously there we go. How often does that happen? That's why we suggest 6 attempts over a 48-hour span. Again, mix it up a little bit, especially if you don't have a number. Obviously it's going to be a lot in email. But if you do have that phone number, you probably want to maybe start off with a text message. So those are just some stats. Now we're going to jump into actually learning how we can do some of this through LeadStreet. Now again, when you do receive a lead, there's several different ways it can come in. First of all, it can come in through Remax.com. It can come in through the global site, the commercial site, your agent site, which is hopefully where most of them will come from because that is your website. Okay, and they've already been there, which is a good thing. So converting leads, it's not always the easiest thing to do. You know, sometimes getting a lead isn't the easiest thing to do. And when we get a lead, we want to do everything we can to massage that lead into a sale. Okay, so number one, accept all leads. I don't care if they're looking at a $60,000 mobile home in Riverside or a $6 million home in PV. Okay, it is a lead, it is an opportunity, and if you don't want to work the lead, what do? Who knows the answer to this? Refer that lead. People used to yell at me and say, I get leads from all over the place, and that's just not right. Your system's broken. I'm like, no, it's not. This goes back to the re-offer. If you receive a lead from, say, Crescent City, and you're thinking, well, this is weird. Why did I get a lead from here? Because nobody else answered it. It has to go through so many layers of re-offers, and if nobody in that area accepts it, it gets kicked out to a completely opposite market area, hoping that somebody will finally accept this lead. Okay, so just accept all leads. If you don't want to work it, that's fine. Take 5 minutes out of your day and refer that lead. It could end up putting money in your pocket and you did absolutely zero work for it. Accept all leads, even if a lead has fake information. Okay, so for example, sometimes people will come in with bogus information. Now, does that necessarily mean that they're bogus? No. It means that they might not want to be contacted. Okay, so if we look at this very first lead, they've opted out of receiving information, but let's just say that this email address is fake. How do you truly know what somebody's looking at? When you get a lead, the first thing that you should do is look at their web activity. This will tell you what they're looking at. So it's letting us know that they came in through the agent website, but they're looking at listings. So even if somebody had a bogus email address, I'm still thinking to myself, well, they still took out the time to sign up for an account. So obviously they were interested enough to view additional information about this property. And if I can't get a hold of them through email because it's bogus, and if I can't call them because they didn't leave a number, is this just a wasted lead? No. I can come over here to my bulletin board, and what I could do is type in here, I tried to reach out to you, but the email bounced back, but I did see that you were looking at a couple properties in such and such area for such and such price. Would you be interested in seeing any of those listings? And if so, could you please provide some information on how I can contact you? So this message is going exclusively to this person, because even if that's a bogus email address, the email address is our unique identifier. That's how a lead is generated. It's not the name, it's not the number, city, zip, state. It's their email address. So if they want to log back into their dashboard and continue looking at information, they have to enter that same bogus email. So whenever you post a message to their account, the next time that they log in, they'll see that this message is waiting for them. So they'll know that you know that it's a bogus email, but then they also know that you can still contact them regarding any information that they're looking at on any of our Remax affiliated sites. So it can be beneficial. You don't want to delete anybody because it can still turn into an opportunity, especially if they are actively looking at property. Okay, and that's why we say check their web activity. That is how we'll know if they're actually looking at something. Okay, reach out quickly. I know this isn't always the easiest thing to do because we're out and about, we're tootling around, we're in classes, we're meeting with people, we're talking to clients. But if you get a phone number, okay, reach out as quickly as possible, okay, because that could be a great way to get them on the hook really quickly. Okay, and again, we're just trying to get a knee-jerk reaction. We're not trying to sell them a property that day. Okay, most people start looking well in advance. So what we're just trying to do is, again, talk about what we were talking on that one slide, try to find out what their position is, because it may be completely different than what we think, especially if we look at their web activity and we see that they looked at a house that was $1.4 million. And then all of a sudden they looked at 6 other houses that were in between $500,000 and $600,000. You know, everybody likes to look at something that they can't afford. That's half the fun of living. You know, so we don't always want to take anything out of context as well. Okay, we can always contact them and say, hey, I saw that you've looked at several different listings. Just curious to see which one that you're leaning towards the most. Okay, we can learn a lot about our clients through the activity report. It's very easy to miss, and that's one of the things that we want to look at when we're in this web activity. Okay, because what we're going to be able to find is what it is that they're doing under active summary. So right here where it says total listings viewed. So they looked at this one listing, okay, they looked at it and then they signed up with it. But if they had looked at a form, let's say that they were requesting additional information or requesting a meeting, Forms submitted. Now this says 0, but if it had said 1, the way you find the form is you scroll down to the bottom of the page, and this happens a lot. I talk to a lot of agents that overlook the forms because they come up here and they can't figure out, they're like, well, why is there no information here? I thought that's where you said all the information was. I said, well, if they're looking at listings and if they sign up through a listing. But if they're just looking for an appointment or looking to meet with somebody and they fill out a form, then it's only going to show that form information. If they never looked at a listing, there's no listing information to provide. Request an appointment or request additional information or request somebody just to reach out to them just to talk to them. So that's why the forms are very important, because you're right, Gloria, they can be hard to find. A lot of people overlook it, and then sometimes I go to the counter and I say, I see this form. They're like, oh, well, what does it say? And I say, well, they're looking for a specific property. They're looking for more information. It's just very, very easy to overlook. And that's why this summary information can be really important, because it lets you know exactly what they were looking at and how many items. So whenever you get a lead, that's why it's always important to go into that active summary and try to establish exactly what that client has been viewing. That way you can gauge how you want to approach that initial contact, because initial contact is sometimes the most important contact. All right, call or text, kind of a gray area. We've already talked about it a couple times. But again, if somebody's at work and you call them, that could irritate them pretty bad. Or you could text them and just say, hey, how's it going? And the problem with these leads are, I will say this one problem, we don't know what they want. A lot of times they just come in, they put in some information, sometimes they'll put in their phone number, but maybe we don't know if they want to be called or not. Especially if it's in the middle of the day or if it's in the evening. We don't know their situation, we don't know their lifestyle, we don't know their routine. So sometimes it can be a little bit softer to text at first. See if you get a response. And then if you don't get a response, then maybe call. Or follow it up with an email. Again, that's one of those gray areas. Sometimes people say, well, I call and it works out great. And I say, awesome. Sometimes I hear the other, where somebody calls and nobody ever answers, and they never get them on the phone. And I know it's hard because you can't always know if this is a young person or perhaps it's a baby boomer on the other line. You don't know who it is. Even me, if I don't know the number, straight to voicemail. And if they don't leave a voicemail, I block the number. So that way they can never call, text, or leave a message. And a lot of people are like that because they're terrified of telemarketers. Okay, there's nothing worse than get on the phone, hello, Mr. Ayers, I just want to know, and click, block, okay? And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people do that. They hate it when people call them and start pitching them on something. Okay, so we want to ease these people into the transition, okay? A text will let them know that, hey, I'm here, I'm cool, I'm savvy with the technology, call, text, or email anytime, I am here, okay? It can be a softer sale. Save searches. So a saved search, if we saw that this individual was looking at a specific property, and we look at this information, it's going to tell us everything that we need to know about this person. What they were looking at, where, and how much. But not even just stopping there, we can actually click on that listing and we're going to be able to see it. If you do click on this MLS, it's going to take you into your agent website and it's going to show you that listing, whether it's yours or not. Okay, so if they're looking at somebody else's listing on your website, it makes no difference. You still have access to it, and that's the beauty of the IDX. Saving a search and sending this to a client is very easy. What we do is we come over here into Site Builder. So if I wanted to create a search, where would I go? The button that says search. So I'm going to click on search. All we have to do is click on create my saved search. And the point of doing this is because if you've seen that they were looking at a few listings or maybe just one, you're thinking, well, why stop there? Because I guarantee there's a lot more inventory in that specific area. So what we can do is click on create my saved search. And again, mine's going to look a little bit different because it's from a different region, so don't worry about that. But I know the city that they were looking in, but better yet, I know the zip code in which they were looking. So if I type in, so now that I have what I'm looking for, I can save this search. And what's one of the best things about having an agent website? It's updated by the MLS. So this is a living and breathing search, because as these properties come off the market and as other ones come on, this search that I'm creating will be updated with that necessary information. So now I can just call this something like 46204, hit submit, go to my Safe Search Manager, and now that I've created that specific search, I go to Manage, Copy to Client. and send them that link. And I can say something, hey Amanda, saw that you were looking at a townhouse. Just wanted to let you know I pulled a list and I found a handful more that you might be interested in. Check it out. This list will update as properties update in that specific area. If you have any questions regarding any of these properties, please feel free to contact me at any time. Here's my number. Here's my email address. Yes, I text. And this is also my office phone. Okay, being proactive. Okay, if you saw that somebody was looking for 1 or 2 listings in this area, you might be thinking, well, I can give them even more listings similar to the listings that they were looking at. Okay, so you can obviously tweak these lists as well. I mean, I pulled everything, but what you're able to do is come in here. If they're only looking at condos, well, maybe take out single family, multifamily, vacant land, commercial, and rental. Okay, only pull condos. So if they looked at 3 listings and they were all condos, why would you send them a multifamily or a rental or even a single family for that matter? Okay, because obviously they're looking specifically for a style of property, and you can adjust this information. You can adjust minimum maximum. So if you see that they're looking in between, $400,000 and $500,000, maybe your minimum should be $400,000 and your maximum $5,000 or $500,000 or $550,000. Each one of those has 2 beds and 2 baths. Maybe stick that in there too. You can learn a lot from what your clients are looking at, and you can produce the same results, but perhaps pull more properties than they know are actually out there. Okay, especially including them on the list. That way they don't have to go and search every day. That list is going to be updated and that information is going to be pushed to them. And the beauty of that, every time they get that update, where do they go? Back to your website. Once they click on that link, it takes them directly back to the website and produces all those results that you sent them, because they may have overlooked those properties. So yeah, it can be very beneficial for them to see that information, but it's also just another way that you can communicate with your client. And they see you as a resource, somebody who can show them information, somebody who can provide them with information that they may have overlooked. Okay, so that's a way to be proactive and to get them back to your website, and it's a good way for you to establish a pattern based on what it is that they're looking for. So saving searches is very important, and it's very easy to send that information to them. And you don't have to use LeadStreet if you don't want to. Again, if you copy that to clipboard and then you just post that in your Gmail or your Yahoo or whatever, you don't have to use LeadStreet to send email if you don't want to. Build links with the MLS. Now, what does that mean? You can make stuff up that sound cool, that sound attractive. If I want to send an email to somebody, if I find, let's just say that I find a property that they were looking at actually, let's just assume that it was this property right here. And if I click on this, I'm going to have this link right here. So I can do whatever I want with this link. So if I take it and I want to email somebody, there's their / address, and I can say, I saw you were looking at 123awesomestreet.com / and then put in the MLS number. Well, what you're going to be able to do is take that link that you just borrowed from your website, come over here, highlight this information. You can do this in all your other email platforms, and you can attach a link going back to that MLS number or that MLS ID, taking them directly to this page and just showing them another way that they can get there. But it's just fun to create, something interesting with a domain name that may not even exist. They don't know that, because whenever they click on that link, it's going to take them directly back to that page that they were looking at. All you're doing is copying and pasting information, taking it from one place to another. So when I say create, think of a clever domain name, I'm not saying go out to GoDaddy and buy something every time you want to send somebody some information. You can build on your own. I mean, this looks like a domain, doesn't it? It's not. I just made it up out of thin air. And you can do it with anything. It just makes it sound cool. It just makes it sound like, oh, wow, they got a really cool domain, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's going to take them back directly to your website showing that listing that they were looking at. The reason that I'm showing this information for somebody who was a lead, everybody, this could be for anybody. It's just a good thing about your leads is as they come in, you can go right to your computer and find out what you're looking for. Because if you do a bulk upload of, say, 500 clients, that doesn't mean they're all going to be active. It just means that you preemptively made them web clients. That way they can't be a web client of another RE/MAX agent. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have activity. So the reason we know that these leads have activity is because they came in through LeadStreet. They came in through RE/MAX.com or our agent site or the global, the commercial, the collection. Okay, we've got about 6 sites where people can come through as a lead and provide you with the information that they were looking at. Okay, the information is what is so valuable because it's that information that can help you effectively communicate with these people that may be looking to buy within, hopefully, a short amount of time. But whatever it is, we want to make sure that we're communicating with them as much as possible, letting them know that we are here to serve their needs, whatever they may be. So this is just one of these clever little additives that could just make you seem a little bit more cool, a little bit more with it. Now, if you're going to do that, all right, don't use Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin. Use your website. Don't even use Remax.com. Use your own website. Or if you don't like the Remax website, that's fine. Use your outside vendor website. If you don't want to use that, that's fine. Use your profile in the MLS. Okay, but I wouldn't use any of those down there below. But what I would do is I would use your agent website more than anything, because that's how leads are generated. It's going to show you as the local expert, and if they want more information, they're coming directly to you. But LeadStreet provides you with the website that markets you. And if you don't have a domain name for it, that's why I showed you that little interesting workaround to just make up a domain, because they don't know any better, and it doesn't make a difference, and it still takes them to your website. Ultimately, that's what you want. Especially if they were looking on Remax.com, you don't want to send them back to Remax.com. You want to send them to your website. A couple bonus tips. Check client activity. I know earlier I said reach out within 5 to 15 minutes. I mean, that's basically if you have a phone number. Okay, obviously, that's not always something that's easy to do, because A, they don't always have phone numbers, and B, if you're out and about and you don't have time to check that information, obviously you're not going to get to them in that time frame. Obviously, that's just a more desirable time frame that you would want to reach out. But if you have the time, if you don't have a phone number, you do have a little bit of time to reach out to this client and doing a little research on what they were looking at. Okay, where they're looking, what kind of property, zip code, okay, what is their financial frame. Okay, that kind of information can really help you gauge what this client is looking at and kind of get an idea of what they're looking for before you even reach out to them in the first place. It just makes you seem even more smarter. Hey, I saw that you're looking at a couple listings down over in this area, and I was just curious if you were interested in seeing any of those, or if one stood out more than the other, or if you have time to talk about it. So it can be helpful. Something else that can be helpful that might seem a little bit creepy, but you might as well do it because they're going to do it to you. Google them. Google their number or their name or their email address. See what they're like online. Because I guarantee that that's what people are going to be doing to you. Everybody has a digital presence these days. Everybody's got like a Facebook page or a YouTube channel or a website or something. Even if they only have one of those, just see what you can find out, because they're probably going to be Googling you, seeing what they can find out about you, seeing how many listings you've sold, what you look like, additional contact information. It's so much easier to find out about somebody by looking them up online than it is to just contact them. So what do we do as human beings? Whatever's the easiest. Find out a little bit more information about our public audience here. Okay, using social media. If you're not using social media, you really need to be. If I have a couple hundred friends, or even on my business page, even if I have a couple hundred followers on my business page, and I'm blasting out information, I'm blasting out listings, open houses, and every time they go to my post, they see my little domain name. So anywhere from 1 to 100% of those people that go on there might be clicking on your website and then going and registering for an account after looking for property. We don't know. There's no way to gauge. So anybody who says I've never gotten a lead off Facebook can't necessarily say that with any kind of accuracy if you're consistently promoting your domain name on all of your social media platforms, because you don't know how they got there to begin with, unless you're looking at Google Analytics. And still, that won't necessarily break down exactly whom came through as a lead through Facebook. Use social media as much as possible, okay? Because if you're taking a link and you're adding that to your Facebook page, that link is going to populate that specific information that is tied to that specific link. So again, this one that I found for this property, if I copy this and then I open up a page and get into Facebook, I'm going to be able to broadcast that information even if it's not even my listing. Okay, but if it's in my market area, if it's a nice looking house, something that I think my friends and my clients might be interested in, what's the problem? Okay, it comes from my website, and if I paste it, typically what happens is a picture of the listing will pop up. See, there we go. So they say, hey, here's the listing, here's the information, there's that link. It's going to come to my website because that's where I pulled that information. So if it's somebody else's listing, that's completely irrelevant. Because when they click on that, they're going to go right back over here. Shows up all of that information. It shows a picture, it shows the brief description. Again, it's all pulled from the MLS. That's how it got here in the first place. Because what Facebook does is it takes this information and it processes the source, where it came from, and that's why it populates this information. Okay, so it's going to have this information, so any of this that they click on is going to take them all to the one place I want them to go, my website. And that's why using social media is so important, because I could be doing this, I could be posting this information on Twitter, I can be putting it on Facebook, I can be putting it on Pinterest. It just helps you get this information in front of a lot more people. Because if you're getting this in front of a lot of people and people are commenting on it and they're sharing it, their friends, we're going to see it. It's all about exposure. Even if you knew you never got a lead from Facebook, again, that's irrelevant as well, because what you're talking about is getting more exposure. More exposure, the more potential leads that you can bring in. And especially if nobody's ever been on your site before, if you're providing your website and you're pushing this information out and people are going to it, then you have an increased chance of receiving leads, because now people that have never been to your website are going there, and they might be signing up for an account if they want to see more pictures or a virtual tour or school information. All that is information that they have to log in to find or sign up for an account. And that's why we have those policies in that website, is to make sure that people that are going to your website, and if they are serious, if they want to forfeit some information and put some skin in the game, then they are going to become your lead. Because again, they're not your client until they become your lead. So a lot of people try to shy away from turning on maximum registration, saying, well, I don't want my clients to be, hindered by your login. I say, well, that's perfect that you say that, because they're not your client. They're not your client until they put in their first name, last name, and email address. You receive that, then you accept it, then, and only then are they your client. Because if you're having no exchange between people who are going to your site, if they're coming to your site looking at stuff, they can do the same thing on Trulia. So if you want people coming to your site and you want to capture that information, maximum registration is the only way that you're going to capture that information. Otherwise, they are going to go somewhere else. Okay, and those are the people that are entering information. Okay, so use social media. It costs no money to use. It's very simple. It's intuitive. It gets you in front of a lot of people, especially a lot of young people. Again, what did we say about young people? Potential to be referrals and repeat business. And again, that's why we're looking at this. New users will be prompted to register after viewing properties. So if you go to your website and you have it on maximum registration, people can view any property that they want. It's when they get inside that property. Okay, if they want to see beyond the main photo, if they want to see beyond the primary information, then they do have to enter in first name, last name, and email, and that's when they become a client. So that's why pushing this out on social media could help increase new leads. Being a pest. So everybody probably has their own definition of being a pest. Okay, if somebody called me 3 times in one day, that would be a pest. If somebody called me 3 times in a week, not so much a pest. Okay, if somebody called me and then emailed me, that's not a pest, using 2 different mediums. So you kind of got to think, and you can always gauge this at the very first attempt. If somebody doesn't answer, if you leave them a message and you don't hear back from them for a while, give them a little bit of time, and then maybe shoot them an email or send them a text. So like I said, reach out at that suggested amount of time. Okay, I know it's not a whole lot of attempts, but it can add up, especially if you're using different mediums. Give them a little bit of time to respond. We don't want to jump down their throat. We don't want to force them into something, especially if they're not ready. Okay, the more reluctant they are, the less chance we have of them working with us, especially in the future. We're not stalkers. Okay, we don't want to give somebody the impression of something that we're not. Okay, we definitely want their business, but we don't want to scare them off by being a little overzealous. Okay, because obviously we have information on something that they want, and if we provide them that information on something they want, then they're going to be a little bit more apt to say, okay, well, that's cool. Well, I would love to hear more. But we don't want to smother them. Anyway, so when you're thinking about this, reaching out to people, obviously you have your own style. Obviously, people know what works best for them and they know what doesn't work. Just trying to get people to understand that, statistically speaking, we have found some ways that people have been successful by following specific strategy. They don't know you, you don't know them. these are fresh leads from the internet. It's not like getting a referral from somebody that you've known for years who just happens to, suggest you to their child that just graduated college and just got their first job and is looking for that first property. It's typically a little bit different because, when you're referred to somebody, they get a little bit more information about you. But these people are completely fresh. You don't know them, they don't know you, so you kind of just want to take it one step at a time.